That was the President of the Global Pulse Confederation. Thank you, Mr. Arslan, for your address at this inaugural of this conclave. As always, very forthright. Well, Mr. Arslan did speak about the global situation and also give you a historical perspective. The legendary butterfly that flutters its wings in the Amazon that has torrential consequences all across the world applies also to pulses and grains. That's why we're very privileged to have with us personalities who will, at this keynote, share experiences and vision, and of course, how the world and pulses, grains, and humanity moves. First off, we are privileged to have with us the Governor of Kitui County, Kenya, the Honourable Charity Ngilu. The Honourable Governor, her Honour, is of course going to talk about the situation in Kenya, but she's also going to give us a perspective about Africa, which is also very, very important. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, but with a warm Indian applause, please welcome Her Honour, Governor of Kitui County, Kenya, the Honourable Charity Ngilu.
Thank you. And thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman of the Indian Houses and Grain Association, distinguished participants. Good morning. First, I'm very pleased to be here in New Delhi for the first time, and also to be in India. I also want to thank you indeed for inviting us and my team who are here from Kenya to be here. Thank you so much. I speak this morning on behalf of my own country and East African region, which comprises of Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, which currently has a population of 150 million people, and it is projected to grow up to 334 million people by the year 2050. 80% of this population live in the rural areas, and most of them are women small-scale farmers who rely on income from agriculture to pay school fees and manage their households. India and East Africa trade relations date back many centuries. I remember our railway line was built way back in 1896, and it was built in 4 years. A distance of nearly 1,000 kilometers in 4 years during very difficult times. That's how far back we go with the Indians' relationship. Since we go back so many years with India, which we engaged during those days, including trade, we still engage with India as our part of our people who we trade with. More recently, your Prime Minister was in the region where he encouraged East African farmers to produce more pulses for the Indian market. Buoyed by the prospects of a new market, my country and indeed the entire East Africa region have increased acreage and the pulses significantly with a focus on green grams, or what you call green mob, bean, and the pigeon peas. And in particular myself, when I got elected about 6 months ago, I told my county the farmers needed to grow nothing else except green grams. And we did so very well, and we had a huge yield that we got. Pulses are increasingly becoming an important crop both for nutritional purposes as well as commercial purposes, as we seek to diversify our agricultural sector. We as a county, and indeed the entire East African region, intend to commit to putting even more acreage to pulses going forward, as we are fully cognizant of the important role it plays in not only raising farmers' incomes, but also providing food security to the East African population. In fact, in our own country, the president has come up with what he's calling Big Four, and he clearly says that the first thing is food security, and he has put this as one of the most important things that we are going to do. We are also making strides to enhance the quality and competitiveness along the value chain, including skills development, hygiene, packaging, and all others. At this juncture, I would like to recognize and appreciate International Trade Center's CETA program, which has contributed immensely in sustainable development and quality enhancement along the value chain in our region. I thank you so much. However, policy uncertainty of India with regard to pulses imports has put us in a very difficult situation indeed, where at one point we even have had over 200,000 metric tons of stock with no buyers. Quantitative restriction on imports by India has had a massive impact on East Africa smallholders who had increased area under pulses production after our Indian Prime Minister's visit to the region last year. However, India imposed a quantitative restriction last year to protect its own farmers. This policy uncertainty puts us in a very difficult situation, as I already said. I really want to urge and plead with the Indian government to look at providing procurement quotas to East Africa countries to ensure a win-win situation. Methyl bromide fumigation has been mandatory by India, even when it is banned in most East African countries. India government should suggest alternatives or gives a special waiver to East Africa countries. You may also want to ask and find out about how Canada and Australia are dealing with these restrictions. My humble request to the Indian government is to really please give us a clear picture on what the future policy direction regarding pulses imports, especially from our region, will be like. We understand that India wants to protect its farmers, so we would like at least some kind of quantitative commitment that your government is willing to at least take from us 50,000 metric tons from Kenya and also 50,000 metric tons from Tanzania, at least annually. And that would be a good start for us so that our farmers are not discouraged. This will enable us to confidently, therefore, ask our farmers to produce more for the Indian market and other markets, and ensure food security in India while ensuring economic security to our farmers. We are ready to sign commitments with you through Memorandum of Understanding and the pulses similar to that what India has done with Mozambique at a government-to-government level. We really strongly want to urge you that you can help us this time, because we already have it. And indeed, we grew a lot of this after the visit of the Prime Minister, and we are very encouraged. We therefore look forward to strengthening our trade ties with India. Thank you so much once again for inviting us to be with you during this very important pulses conference. Thank you very much. Asante.
Thank you, ma'am.